Are you in college? Are you thinking of going into college? Or have you just finished college? Then pay attention, listen, and learn because I'm going to tell you all the things here that they will not tell you. Why? Because it's not in their interest to tell you these things. So, this is the start of your real education. Watch this video, listen, and learn. First thing, college is a scam. Now, that's a general statement. There are some cases where you do need college. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, things like that. But the average person going to get a humanities or a social studies or English degree, it's a lot more negotiable. And that's most of you. Now, way back in this, I used to talk to my parents, my grandparents about this. Way back in the 60s and 70s, a person going to college and getting a 4 year degree was a much more uncommon thing. Most people got out of high school and then went in the military or got a job in the local factory, things like that. Now, you've been hearing for decades, go to college, get your degree, go to college, go to college. And over time, so many people have gone to college that we now have a lot of people working at Starbucks with a bachelor's degree because too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Not everybody can be a manager. Now, I've reached the point in my life where I'm more the technician, managerial kind of level, not the worker level. I spent many years doing the worker jobs, looking at the manager and thinking, look at this. Look at me. Look at him. I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing that. Even back before it was Loudmouth Tim on the website and everything, I knew, my place is not here. My place is there. But the problem is, everyone thinks that. All the guidance counselors in school, all the liberal professors, they say, "Oh, go to college, whatever." Now, that's good for the college. They want to push that story. Why? For one reason, money. You are giving them money. So, colleges will tell you anything you want to hear. Yeah, we have a 97% job placement rate. They don't tell you that includes a job working at Pizza Hut, or a gas station. That's a job, isn't it? All right, you got a job after college. There you go. We weren't specific. We didn't say you're going to get a $100,000 job the week after you graduate. No, we just said a job, not the job. So anyhow, when you go to talk to the college people, talk about the classes, take a tour around the campus, they're going to give you the pie in the sky, dream scenario. Oh, yeah, your life is going to be terrible if you don't come here and pay us a lot of money and pay these ridiculous fees for books and classes, tuition, and all these things. And you know why? Because it's all student loans these days. You're 18 years old, just got out of high school, and they want you to commit to tens of thousands of dollars. And let me tell you this, all you got to do is sign that paper and get approved. And at that point, the college got their money off of you. They couldn't care less what happens to you, how well you do in your classes, if you even graduate. They got their money. Their job is done, as far as they're concerned. And I just have to have you walk around the campus for a few years until I, go through all the classes and get out of there. And that's another thing. Colleges push all kind of extra unneeded classes on you in the guise of giving you a well-rounded education. You don't need to go to gym class. You don't need to take all these multiple levels of English classes and math classes if your job that you're trying to get has nothing to do with math or whatever the particular subject may be. You have to have a theater class. You have to have a whatever kind of class. So they'll give you all the reasons in the world. Well-rounded education here at this college. Yeah, that translates to you staying in college longer, taking more credits, paying them more money. Don't be fooled. They know what they're doing. They want to keep you there and pull as much money out of you as they can. Now, you have to be aware of that. Now, if I knew, I went through college back in 93 to 96. ending up with a 2-year bachelor's degree, which, as far as I can tell, has gotten me nothing. You know, I did it. I was the only member of my family to go to college and graduate. So that's something. But after college, I went into the workforce and say, "Hey, I got a 2-year college degree. Good, take this job making $12 an hour, light industrial. Yep, I have a college degree. You can turn a screwdriver, can't you? All right then. Okay, here." No one ever seemed to really care. I went downtown and I would go into high-rise buildings with a stack of resumes. What does this company do? Here's a resume. Give me a call. Never got a call. The few calls I did get for any kind of job, when I went to college, my idea was to get a business degree. What do you want to learn? I don't know. Business. And that was the best answer I had at the time. I should have gone for computer work when I was in college. I'd have been a lot farther ahead, but they didn't tell me that. I didn't figure it out until years later. So if I was to do it now, I would go in to a college for whatever the degree field I wanted. I would take the basic core classes and only those classes, and not waste my time and my money on a class like in theater or gym, or a class where you go out and do something in some public local charity event, whatever, things like that. All the unnecessary classes that are not directly related to what I'm there for. And then on my resume, I would write Penn State University, bachelor's degree in some subject, asterisk at the end, the asterisk. And at the bottom of your resume in small print, asterisk, core classes only. And if you want to go into more detail, core classes only, not the unnecessary BS classes designed to waste my time and take my money even more. And a real honest recruiter would say, okay, you understand that you know the game, you know what they're trying to play on you, so that's good. We're going to hire you because you can see through all the waste of time classes. So, and the next thing, why can't you get a job right out of college right now? Easy, because we're in a recession. We've been in a recession for several years, thanks to Biden and all his policies, but they never wanted to call it a recession because that wasn't good for electing more Democrats. And it used to be the standard was 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. And that was a recession. And we had that way back in the Biden years. And even back then, oh, no, well, it's not really that. It's this, this is some other way. Normally it would qualify as a recession, but in this case, no, it's not a recession because we're trying to get more Democrats elected. And they pulled that for a long time. And now, President Trump is doing a good job, and he is getting us slowly turned around and out of this mess. We're going to have a mess for a while, but it's going to get better. Don't worry about it, Things are all right. But we're in a recession. By whatever means we got there, we're there, And so companies are not hiring, any more than they need to. And this, college students, pay attention. This is a big thing you need to understand. No company anywhere wants to hire you. They need to hire you. That's not the same thing. They need people to file the paperwork and type the reports and do the job and sell the products and whatever they do in that company. They need people to do it. The CEO can't do everything all himself. You are a liability. You are a cost. Kind of an asset, if you're making money for the company, but still, you cost money. And if you go out and do something really stupid, and like that guy who got in trouble for the Chick-fil-A video, right or wrong is not the issue here, but he posted a video and it really blew up the wrong way, and he lost his job and everything for it. That was several years ago. So whenever you go into your boss's office, say, "Hey boss, I've been doing a great job," and boss says, "Yes, you have. You're doing a great job. I'm making $50,000 here. I'd like to make 60, and I deserve it too." And the boss said, "No, even if you really do deserve it." They don't see it that way. They see they give you more, they keep less. And CEOs and bosses and people who put out a lot of money to get this company going don't like the idea of them keeping less. So you're fighting an uphill battle every step of the way to complete college, to get a job, to do well in your job, to get promoted and pay raises and stock options and 401ks and all that. The more you get, the less the company has. And so you got to give them a darn good reason to give you more, because no matter what they say, they don't want to. Any company that says, "Oh, we're like a big family here," run, because it's not going to. I've heard too many horror stories about, it ain't going to work out well. Now, let me scroll down my list here. I made an actual list for this episode. I'm not just winging it entirely like I usually do. Now, like I said before, we have too many degree holders now. Not everyone can be the manager. You need to have one manager and many workers. And maybe like me, you're thinking, well, I shouldn't be the worker. I should be the manager. I did my time, working when I was doing part-time jobs in college between my classes as my schedule would allow. Yeah, okay. But still, not everyone can be the manager. Let me tell you a little story about a job experience I had while I was in college. Because of my schedule, you couldn't have a regular 40-hour job. It just wasn't possible. But at the college, they would post jobs available, maybe a job for a week or 2 or 3 between semesters. Okay, I found one, and I would go there. It was a job outside doing some, light construction stuff. What it turned out to be was a landfill was being built, and they had graded off a piece of ground and the hillside on one side, totally flat and smooth dirt, and the angled hillside totally flat and smooth with the berms all around it. They had to put in layers of plastic on the ground and like a mesh fabric netting combination all over it and zip tie it all together. Every roll that was on maybe a 30-foot wide roll had to be unrolled up the hill, and across, and zip tie it all together because nothing can come apart. Everything has to be contained. First day, I'm out there, blue jeans and t-shirt, think I'm going to a job interview. No, you're hired. Just go out there and do the work. And I was seeing, we're all out there doing this kind of, heavy lifting, pushing work. I'm like in my mid-20s here, in good. I mean, then I'm in good shape, but still, I'm in college. What the heck am I doing here outside doing this? And you have to be down on the ground putting the zip ties to zip tie the rows of netting together. Don't sit down. No one gets to sit on the ground. You have to be crouched down, like, and squatting over all the time. I was young and in better shape, but still, that hurts your knees and your feet after a while. How am I supposed to do it like this? This is stupid like this. So, I'm going to drink water. I'm standing there looking around. And like our manager with his glasses and his mustache and his hard hat's there. And over comes the manager with his business casual and white dress shirt and tie and the clipboard. And he's talking to the manager, and they're all over there. Now, there's like 30 of us or 20 or 30 of us out there in the area doing all the work. And I'm thinking, look at this. Would you just look at this? I'm out here with these people doing this. They're over there like doing all the management stuff. Why am I here? I should be over there. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Not everyone can be the manager. You got to have a lot of workers. And I quit that job by lunchtime. I just said, this ain't the job for me. I can't handle it. I'm leaving. And our on-site supervisor was kind of like, okay, bye. Whatever. No, trying to talk me into, I'll just stay the whole day, finish the whole day. They were like, okay, and that's the way jobs are today too. You want to quit your job? Hey, there's 10 people waiting in line behind you who need a job. So, get out. If you ain't doing this here, get out of the way and get someone else in here. You're disposable. You're, not valued, not appreciated. Yeah, I mean, that's how life is. Okay, let me check my list here. Too many degree holders. Not everyone can be the manager. Companies do not want to hire you. Oh, the next thing, AI. Yeah. 5 years ago, we didn't have AI. 3 years ago, AI really wasn't much of a thing. Now, they're getting AI developed enough to where it is taking jobs. And companies have the one-time startup expense of AI in their company, but then long term, they get to have the AI doing the work with no extra cost or minimal extra cost for the AI, and they have less people that they're paying wages to, paying taxes on, dealing with all their problems. So yeah, a lot of middle management and data processing type of work, white collar office work is going to be replaced by AI. I don't like AI. I hate AI photos and videos. I really, really hate it, and AI needs to be banned entirely as far as I'm concerned. But it's the new high-tech thing, and a lot of big companies are making all kind of money by building up AI and selling their AI, whatever, and that's something we all have to deal with. So, what's the solution? Okay, if I can't get a good degree without paying a huge pile of money for it, and then I can't get a job with my degree because everyone has a degree, and the companies don't want me there in the first place because I'm costing them money, so what am I supposed to do? Well, few options. Trade schools. No one wants to be, a lot of people don't want to be like an electrician or a plumber or some other kind of service industry thing like that, where you do the actual physical work. AI can't do physical work, but you can. And if you find a way to get into something like that you can do, provide a valuable service like that, you can make some good money. And don't work for the boss. Be the boss. Starting your own company, once again, that is a consideration. Now, not everyone can do this. It ain't going to work for everyone. Not everyone can go online and sell things on Etsy or eBay or have an Amazon store, find some way to sell something like that because, ultimately, if enough people lose their jobs thanks to AI and corporate downsizing and the economy, who's going to be there to buy things? And if your thing is not a super critical essential item, that's a luxury, that's an extra thing, and that's the first thing to be cut. So I'm giving you a real gloomy picture here, aren't I? But that's called reality. You are one more person coming out in the world trying to, get your piece of the pie, make your own money, have your own life, and that's all well and good, but where does your money come from? Some company who wants to pay you less and work you more and increase their corporate profit, and they'll all be all like, well, we have a responsibility to our shareholders. We have to increase our share price by firing people so the shareholders are happy. Well, forget the shareholders. That's what I say. It's people tell you don't gamble what you can't afford to lose. Well, same thing. Don't buy the stocks if you can't afford to lose them. And companies should look at it with that point of view in mind and say, hey, we're doing what we're doing, what's best for the company. Stock price goes up, down, whatever. If you wanted to buy our stock, hey, no one forced you to buy our stock. You're on your own with that. You took a risk, you took a gamble. So having multiple degrees isn't going to get you very far because a lot of people have degrees. You have to find a way to get around all that, to get ahead on your own. What can you do for yourself? Find a way to get the education you need without going crazy on the debt. Because this whole student loan thing, Biden was supposed to cancel my student loans. He canceled student loans for my brother who votes Democrat. My loans didn't get canceled. Could that have had something to do with it? Well, okay. Well, anyhow, that's about all I have to say at the moment. Try to learn from my examples. Think about what I said. Yeah, everyone wants to, believe that the dream college sells you is real and it's going to happen just the way they say. Hey, they are trying to sell you a dream, so you sign that student loan agreement and they get their money. Once they have their money, hey, their job is done. The rest of it, that's your problem. And it doesn't get any better once you get out of school. So I hope my examples give you something to think about. Don't just blindly go sign up for a 4-year degree and think it's all going to be great when you graduate, because it's not. There's a lot of examples I've posted here, and there's a lot of other videos I've seen online too about it. I thought I was going to get this. I thought this was going to happen. As crazy as it may sound, I went to 4 years in the Army right out of high school. It wasn't my idea. People encouraged me to do it, rather vehemently. And I thought, well, I don't have any better plans, so I'll go do that. Now that I'm older, it's starting to really pay off with the medical benefits and things like that. Say, well, it wasn't the worst use of 4 years. If I would have done it now, I would have, gone into the military for, better career opportunities, skills I could use outside of the military, in a regular job, or to make a business for myself afterwards. Well, lots of stuff to think about, when everyone's like, well, maybe this way would work for me. And this is something I've thought about too. I've thought about, okay, I am in IT work now, doing data center work, stuff like that, and that works good for me. But is this the job I'm supposed to be in? What if I had gone into some entirely different career field and maybe things would have worked out there? Maybe not, but maybe. Am I on the right way? Things are doing pretty good now, but could they be better? I guess you don't ever really know. You just have to, study, learn, research, and take your best shot and hope it all works out good. All right, well, that's all for this episode. Research, learn, think, plan things out, find a better way while spending as little money as possible. Go to companies and talk to their, higher ups before you are ever committed to college or anything like that. Tell them, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about going to college for this. What do you think? Listen to what they say. You might get better ideas just from doing that. That puts you off in a whole new career direction that ultimately ends up being better for you. It could happen.